Hello and welcome. I am a hotel AI expert with extensive experience in modern hospitality operations and performance support. I am pleased to welcome all students of Europe Hotel School to your online learning journey. Now, opening a brand new hotel. It sounds glamorous, doesn't it? But behind the scenes, it's an incredibly complex operation. So how do you get from a construction site to a five-star experience? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secret roadmap for a successful hotel launch, and we'll discover why one department, the front office, is the absolute key to making it all work.
You know, this quote really hits the nail on the head. Opening a new hotel is this huge, high-stakes journey. It's not just about that final sprint to opening day. Every single decision, even a tiny delay, can have these massive ripple effects down the line. It's all about that long, carefully planned process.
So how on earth do you manage all of that complexity? Well, that's where something called the critical path comes in. The best way to think of it is as the master blueprint for the entire opening. It's the tool that makes sure every single task, from choosing the software to training the staff, happens exactly when it's supposed to. It's the roadmap that guides everyone through the chaos.
And here's what's so fascinating. Within this massive project, one department becomes the strategic center of everything, the front office. Now, we might just think of it as the reception desk, right? But during a pre-opening, it's so much more. It becomes the functional and cultural heart of the hotel, and honestly, its readiness is the benchmark for the entire operation.
So here's our plan. We'll start by looking at the critical path itself. Then we'll break down the three key phases of that timeline, all from the front office point of view. And finally, we'll connect the dots and see why the front office is truly the engine that drives a successful launch. All right, let's dive in.
Okay, so let's zoom out and look at the big picture. The critical path isn't just some simple checklist you tick off. It's a strategic timeline that makes sure the front office team is deeply involved right from the very beginning. I mean, from the first architectural drawings all the way to welcoming that very first guest.
We can really break this whole journey down into three major phases. Way out, more than a year and a half before opening, we're in planning and design. Then, from 12 to 6 months out, we hit the mobilization and setup phase. And finally, those last 6 months are just an intense sprint of training and launch.
So, let's dig into Phase 1, Planning and Design. This is the absolute earliest stage, happening more than 18 months before the doors even think about opening. At this point, the front office manager's job isn't about day-to-day operations at all. It's about being a crucial consultant. It's all about making sure that foundation is rock solid.
The front office manager is in the room with the general manager and the architects, helping to shape the physical space. You know, asking the important questions. Does the lobby layout actually allow for a smooth, welcoming guest flow? Is the back office designed for an efficient workflow, or is it an afterthought? Is there really enough luggage storage? Are there discrete areas for VIP check-ins? And so important, is the IT infrastructure placed logically to support all our core systems? These questions have to be answered now, not later.
And you can see the night and day difference this makes. Get it right from the start and you have efficient guest flow, a smooth operation. But get it wrong and you're stuck with lobby bottlenecks, guest privacy issues, and huge tech problems. The main takeaway here is simple. Getting the front office involved this early prevents future problems and saves a ton of money on costly retrofits down the road.
All right, let's move into Phase 2, Mobilization and Setup. We're now about a year away from opening, and the focus shifts big time. We're moving away from the physical building plans and starting to build the hotel's operational skeleton. This is really where the front office starts to shape its own destiny.
This phase is really defined by 4 key responsibilities, 4 huge pillars. First, selecting the core technology. Second, planning out all the staffing you're going to need. Third, designing the standard operating procedures, the SOPs, that will literally govern every single interaction. And finally, the enormous task of procuring all the necessary operating supplies and equipment.
Let's just zero in on that core technology piece for a second. The Property Management System, or PMS, is, well, it's basically the hotel's brain. It handles everything: reservations, check-ins, billing, guest information. The choice made right here, which is led by the front office manager, is going to affect every single department and the guest experience for years to come. It's a hugely important decision.
And that brings us to the final 6 months, Phase 3, Training and Launch. This is what I like to call the ignition sequence. All that planning, all that setup, it now has to come to life through people and processes. You can feel the energy start to build.
So think about it. The plan is set. The framework is built. But how do we actually bring it all to life? How do we transform an empty building with some new software into a living, breathing hotel that's ready to welcome its very first guest?
Well, it all comes down to a series of key launch milestones, and the front office is managing every single one. This means hiring the absolute A-team, running intensive training on the new PMS and service standards, doing realistic role-playing exercises over and over, and live testing all the systems. It all builds up to that final dry run and then the soft opening, which is the ultimate test for the entire front-of-house operation.
So let's tie this all together now. Why do we keep saying the front office is the engine of success? It's because its job isn't done in a vacuum. It is the central hub that connects and empowers every single other department in the hotel.
And you can really see the ripple effect, the domino effect, right here. If the front office doesn't load the room rates into the system properly, guess what? The sales team literally cannot sell any rooms. It's that simple. If communication procedures are weak, housekeeping might miss a late checkout, which creates a huge problem for the next guest. And an inefficient front desk means your team is constantly putting out fires instead of providing great service.
So what this all really comes down to is this. The front office is the communication hub. It's the command center for the whole hotel, and its level of readiness directly dictates the readiness of the entire operation on opening day. It's that simple and that incredibly important.
So I want to leave you with one final question to think about. Given its foundational role in planning and its absolutely central role in execution, is the front office just the first department that needs to be planned for, or is it actually the last line of defense, the one department whose failure guarantees failure for everyone else?